So she really brought ENVE out of bankruptcy and into a viable company. And now she works with this incredible firm in the digital space with tourism that she'll talk more about. She's the CEO of this company as well. Her undergraduate was at Boston University. We talked about that experience. And her graduate degree was at Harvard. She is a Wisconsin native. And though she has 3 children, I think she's most proud of her Green Bay shares, right?
Yes.
So Green Bay shares, children, and probably her work in other things. So,
in that order.
Yeah, that order. So we are so pleased and excited to have Sarah join us today. Let's give her a round of applause.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So thanks for having me. So what does a large biopharmaceutical company, a pharmaceutical company, a automotive aftermarket company, a granola company, an outdoor manufacturing company that makes wheels and components, and a technology and data company focused on tourism have in common? We're talking businesses that start from 3 employees all the way up to 80,000 employees, from startups to Fortune 50. On the surface, you might think there's nothing in common with those businesses, right? But in fact, what I've learned through my career is that there are a lot of commonalities from businesses that I would like to talk about today. I'm going to talk about some core principles that I've learned at working at all those different companies. I worked for the man at Pfizer. I got out before they sucked my soul. I worked as a second employee hired for a startup biomedical services company in Boston. And now I work at a tourism company. And I'm going to speak about these principles through the lens of my current company, Zartico. Okay. Zartico's mission is to provide the clearest view of the world's visitor economy. And we do that through the use of big data. We bring in data sets that help destinations, so this is Washington, D.C., understand who's in their market, where did they come from, where are they going, and how much are they spending? What value are they creating for that destination? Then we look at, well, how do you influence them? How do you take tourism and ensure that it's level loaded within the destination? How do you ensure that instead of having all your tourists and your visitors coming on one weekend for Moab Jeep Week, you can spread them over so you have level loaded capacity and you have year-round economic value created by the visitor economy? And we do that by bringing in 3 or more major data sets. We're talking big data, 40 billion rows of data to understand using geolocation, credit card, 400 million events globally to understand how people are moving within a various destination. And we have said that we are going to be the world's first ever destination operating system. We're the first and only destination operating system. And if we do what we say, we're going to ultimately improve communities worldwide. Pretty lofty, right? I mean, kind of crazy, to be honest with you. We're going to be the clearest vision of the economy worldwide. We're going to bring in big data and be the first operating system. And then we're going to improve communities all over the world. I mean, that is crazy. It's big and it's bold. When I was at ENVE, we had a mission of we're manufacturing the fastest, most durable wheels on the planet. Pfizer. Do you think Pfizer, when they decided to bring a vaccine to market, said, you know what? It would be really nice if we had a vaccine that we could make really fast to help people. I would argue they said, we are going to make a vaccine in breakneck speed, and we are going to save millions of lives when we accomplish our vision. And I bring these examples to play because people want to align to a bold mission, especially in today's market where talent is so hard to find. When talent is hard to find, where do they go? They want to obviously be well taken care of, but they want to have something that they are believing in and day out. And if you're at a startup like me, when things are really tough and the days are long and the nights are even longer, they've got to have something big to believe in. And I would say the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world probably can. So for me, in any company that I have ever been a part of, and it could be any company whatsoever, a service company, we're going to provide the best service in the Intermountain West. We're going to be the best plumbing and heating company in this destination or in this city, right? I think people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so for me, I always say, be as bold as you can. Be the first, be the best. You might not always get there, but at least there's a huge mountain to climb. So Zartico actually started as Entrada, and it started in 2019. When I joined in 2020, and its headquarters here in Utah. And we launched our minimal viable product March 2020. So does anyone remember what happened in March 2020? Okay, we launched a tourism product in March 2020 when that was happening. So we had 5 employees. We had probably enough money to last us 4 months. And the way tourism operates, so our customers are government entities, cities, states, countries that manage the tourism dollars. And those interactions, it's a B2B business. Those interactions happen through trade shows and conferences. You think there are no trade shows and conferences. So we were on a call, and I said, listen, guys, we're going to run out of money. We have about 4 months of runway. We've got to get some customers. We've got to launch this product in the tourism space. And this is what they did. That's a homemade video, okay? 5 employees at the time. The founder and our chief revenue officer literally got in an RV with a couple of friends and drove from San Francisco to Maryland, 42 visits, all outside, all socially distanced. We brought the trade show to the people. We were the only company that did business this way at this time, right? Everyone else was home. And I'm proud to say that with 42 visits, we have 14 of those have already signed up as customers. So really crazy times called for crazy measures. The other thing we had to do is launch a brand with no real means, right? No trade shows. And we were trying to launch in tourism, and our name was Entrada. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a really nice company down south also called Entrada. So note to founders, always check your trademarking. Just note to self. Because at ENVE also had to change its name, and I'm not saying Entrada did for trademark issues, it's just note for self. Make sure you do a very broad search for your name, and getting the .com is not the only step. So we had to launch our brand, and if you look in the space of tourism, if you look in the space of technology brands tend to be really sterile. Like there are tons of icons. Like this is a smattering of technology company websites. Like you look at that and you're like, oh, it's a fundamental B2B company, right? I have no emotional connection to that. Great, it's going to serve a need. I'm going to pay my money and I'm going to move on. But this is tourism, and it's a company being launched in the midst of a global pandemic, right? So we decided we need to rebrand ourselves. So we went from Entrada to Zartico. Now we found inspiration and a fox. Turns out that the Arctic fox is one of the most adaptable animals on the planet. Much like tourism needed to be at that time, right? To go from being a major contributor to the global GDP to being absolutely ground to a halt. Means the Zaro Artico, right? So Zartico. In the name Zartico, you can see the word art, and you can also feel a little bit of science. So we rebranded with Mona the fox. Mona's named after Mona Lisa, a little bit of play on the art. And we launched this brand campaign of science. You get the science with the technology, the art with our advisory team, putting the human element to what is a sophisticated data set. And through that, we create wonder for your communities. We rebranded our website, but we still had no real means to get our word out. We had no followers effectively on our LinkedIn page. We were a brand new company. So we brought in what I would call the world's greatest storyteller. This is our chief marketing officer, and he is a fiery Englishman who can tell any story to anybody, whether it be over a pint or on stage. And he came up with a marketing plan that said, okay, fine, I know we have 0 LinkedIn followers, but our collective team members, because at this point we now had maybe 10, 15 employees, our collective team members have 25,000 connections on LinkedIn. So he came up with a campaign of how to launch our brand using all of the connections from everyone on the team. So everyone created content. We redid our website to be the best salesperson we could create. We interviewed our clients on our roadback tour. So socially distanced, we're interviewing our clients to become our spokespeople for what we were trying to accomplish. Here, we didn't even really have a product that these folks hadn't even purchased our product. They were just talking about the wonder of their community, right? So we were engaging them through this process. They even got me to do personalized videos for everyone. Because again, very difficult to do in-person meetings at this time. So when someone signs up with Zartico, I send them a personalized video that says, welcome to the team. I'm the CEO. You now have my direct phone number. Call me at any time. So that's a practice that we instituted through this process. And we were everywhere. For those Ted Lasso fans, we were Roy Kent. Roy Kent, he's there, he's everywhere, right? That's where we were. We completely blitzed the market. And to this day, I will say we have 71 partners. So we ended last year with 23. Today we're at 71. Nearly most of it done digitally. Certainly we've now gone back to trade shows. So we've done 20 trade show presentations. But this was our company. Company launch was that roadback tour. That literally was an RV tour. Started with a home video that just went out to the people and took off from there. And my sales guy just told me that we're at 74 clients as of this morning. We were named a hot startup, and our growth rate has been stupendous. Now, my point is not about our story. My point is, I don't care if you're a B2B, B2C, or whatever you sell. I think as a company owner and as a brand, we need human connections with the people buying the product. It doesn't matter if it's a B2B, because at the end of the day, there is a human there making a decision about your product. And I think today, and even more so tomorrow, people who are making buying decisions want to have a human connection to the products they are working with. Even if it's using taxpayer dollars, it's still a human making the decision and using that product on a daily basis. So art, wonder, who would ever talk about technology that way? That doesn't even sound like a technology company. But we needed to create something different and be quite disruptive. And then I would say there's something called a lightning strike. This is a great book if anyone's ever read it, called Play Bigger. And it's one of the most fascinating concepts in that when you don't have a lot of money, I mean, mind you, we had 5 people when we launched that RV tour. When you don't have a lot of money, you have to be really wise. And the Play Bigger concept is you have lightning strikes, big bursts of activity that are really concentrated so that it is nearly impossible to not feel the impact. of that if you're in the market. And so that blitz, that relaunch of the brand, I mean, that was just weeks of content that no matter where someone was in the industry, they couldn't possibly ignore the fact that we were on the scene. We were mailing out teddy bears, Mona teddy bears to our potential clients. So again, play bigger, especially when you don't have a lot of resources. And as small to medium-sized businesses, you know, that tends to be the way of the world, always. So for those of you who don't know, this is ENVE. So ENVE is a manufacturer of carbon fiber bicycle wheels based in Ogden. And this is their headquarters. And their headquarters was purpose-built to house world-class manufacturing and all the design and development. It brought together the engineers that were designing the product and the engineers that were responsible for making the product. When I worked at ENVE for 8.5 years, I was a walk-around manager. I don't know for all the young folks if they recognize that term, but that was codified by Hewlett-Packard. And the concept was you manage by walking around. You could see, you could talk to someone, you could check in. You didn't have to have a skip level meeting. You just skip levels and went and talk to the person on the floor. I had visual cues. I could see when there was whip lining up. I could see when the scrap was going. I could watch the guys hand make the tool and see if they were using the tools correctly. I, every day, could feel the pulse of the company. Well, today, I deal in ones and zeros. When COVID launched, we had to make a decision to become a work-from-anywhere company because we had no choice, right? And also, I think it also does open the talent pool quite substantially. But it's been wonderful in terms of the people we have been able to bring in. But in thinking about developing, innovation, and manufacturing, I'm not going to lie, it's been a challenge, right? Because I can't see it anymore. I can't touch it and I can't feel it. So this is the piece that let me just play the clip and then I'll explain what I'm going to say. Stop talking. Let me turn the lights off. Well, that's okay.
Give me a second, I can fix it.
Oh, it's okay. I don't have any more clips after that.
Okay.
So has anyone seen Hidden Figures? Okay, so you know the scene. So they're sitting in that room looking at this board full of math. And the room is filled with engineers and scientists. And they're all looking at it, and she's trying to solve the problem. And then obviously the chief guy says, well, maybe we're looking at this wrong. Maybe we have to look at it through a different lens. And she says, yes, maybe it's old math, not new math, right? My point in showing that clip is that when you are inventing, it is oftentimes someone's random comment or observation when you're sitting there around the room collaborating that allows you to go in another direction or iterate as quick as possible. You have to literally be around the Bunsen burner together sometimes to understand what the results are telling you. And what we have realized is that in a work-from-anywhere organization with people scattered all over the world or all over the US, it has been a challenge for us. And so we are now innovating how we innovate, right? So there are core principles to innovation that I think apply universally. But for us, what we have decided is that we have a lot of in-person sprints. So we bring our teams into Salt Lake City to spend anywhere from 2 to 5 days sprinting on a particular project, creating those moments where you look up at the board and you collectively ingest and experiment together, working the math, because effectively what we do for a living is figure out math problems. That's what we do with this big data, is solve for them using math. So we look at this and we do it together through in-person sprints. We've also really tried to instill this concept of fail fast, fail cheap. When you're working remotely, you might have the tendency to try to solve the whole problem all at once. Whereas when you're together, you're like, okay, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. So instilling the mindset, even though we're not co-located, of fail fast, fail cheap, break it into small parts, has been really important. Speed over perfection for me is a personal mantra. Perfection is the enemy of good, enemy of progress. So speed over perfection is something we're also looking at. And then what really surprised me is that lean principles that are often found in manufacturing could be applied to data science. I had no idea that was what I was going to be in for. But what I've discovered is that, so at ENVE, we brought in this raw material. We used a process that was proprietary to ENVE to make a handcrafted high-performance wheel, and then we sold it to the consumers. So we had to have all this QC all up front, because if we had the QC at the end, we were going to be scrapping a wheel that had loads and loads of money and labor in. So we had to build QC all the way up front. Well, the same goes with data science, right? We pull in all this raw data. Originally, we thought, oh, these vendors must do their own cleaning of this data that we've just paid lots of money for. Au contraire. No. Never rely on someone else to do quality for you. So we have had to reshift and put quality processes all the way up front. Even though it's data, it's still a raw material. And we have to put in place all sorts of lean principles, poka-yokes, all sorts of principles related to manufacturing into a data science product. I would have never imagined that. But from an innovation standpoint, it's been critical. And and operational excellence, I think, for me, when I look at all the businesses that I've ever been part of, I do fundamentally believe operational excellence can be a competitive advantage. Because it is shocking the number of businesses out there that do not operate with excellence in mind. Sloppy emails, sloppy follow-up, sloppy service, sloppy. So if you can get if company aligned in terms of what good looks like, I think it can be a competitive advantage. It certainly was in the bike industry, and I'm actually finding it also here in our data and technology company. And then lastly, I will have to admit, we are going to create an incubator here in Utah with people co-located. I know that all the research says that everything related to work from anywhere is amazing, and I know it's here to stay. What we have discovered is once in a while, when everything that you do is related to looking up at that board and looking at the math together, that those people do need to be in the same room more often than not. And so we're looking to build an incubator here. It'll be curious to see what the research says in 6 to 12 months about innovation and invention, because that's the piece that I'm still curious about. So for us, my core principle here is we are innovating how to innovate. We are rethinking the model, because we have no playbook for this. So that's a big lesson, and the jury is still out, and I will tell you how it goes. And I don't think it should be any surprise, right, that people. So these are our Zarticans, right? These are our Zarticans. It doesn't even represent the full amount. We are up to 35 employees. When we started the company right before COVID, we were at 5. So we have hired 30 people, many of whom I never met in person. Our chief people officer, I did not meet in person for over a year. So it's been an interesting time to be a CEO. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm a hugger. I'm a walk-around manager. And now I'm building a team through Zoom. It is hard. It is hard. So I had to get really creative, right? I had to get these amazing people on the bus, convince them to join this crazy vision about changing the world and launching an operating system, and I had to do it through Zoom. So we did all sorts of crazy things and continued to do crazier things. But this is not so crazy. The first, I think people join for a vision and stay because of the values, right? They join for vision and mission of where you're going, and they stay because of values. Values defines your culture, right? Values define your culture. Those are the behaviors by which people operate. And if they don't, that's the door, right? Those are the behaviors. And so every company I've worked at have slightly different value sets. And these were the ones we wrote for Zartico. But some of the crazy things that we have deployed to try to build this team and create a culture includes we have a weekly all-hands meeting. Every single employee, I know we're small, so 35 people, plus all of our interns, all of our contractors are invited to join. It's a 90-minute call. It's an all-hands call. We rotate who MCs. We have openers and icebreakers. Sometimes we have music. We have someone called Random Steve. He's our marketer. That's Random Steve right there. He gives us a marketing update. It's oftentimes the most entertaining because he's quite entertaining. We have created Methodical Maggie. She's our process person. She keeps us on track. We have Professor Josh, who gives us tips and techniques for how to turn on Zoom. I mean, we got a lot of people who are not digitally inclined on the team. So sometimes we just got to cover the basics, and that would be me. I mean, I never used Slack before this. I think I counted it the other day. I have learned how to use 14 different technologies since joining this company in the last 18 months. So we have a professor who talks about that. We have something called Roses and Thorns. So roses is easy. Something that went well for the week. Roses. Give me a rose. Oh, so-and-so did a great job on this pitch. We got a great comment from a client. That's easy. Thorns. So we started Thorns. Because one thing about a company is you have to be able to fail, right? One of our mantras for innovation is fail fast. But in an all, remote workplace, how do you celebrate failures, right? You can fail in your little space and no one would ever know about it. So we created Roses and Thorns are, I messed up. And oftentimes, I had to be the first one. Okay, I wrote an email. It was a sensitive email. I accidentally copied someone else on it. That's a terrible thing to do. I haven't done that since I was in graduate school. I shared that with the whole team. And that started the ball of, okay, well, I had a bad call. I kind of blew a pitch. And so again, trying to cultivate this psychological safety all via Zoom or via, remote technology. The speed of trust is what we're trying to establish. And so we also started this concept of this is me. And this is me is effectively you come and you as an individual give a 20 or so minute presentation about you and your life. What's important to you? Could be your cats, could be your dogs, your kids, your life, whatever. Well, in an effort to create psychological safety and the speed of trust as fast as I could in an organization that needed to grow and connect as fast as we could, I was one of the first to go. I shared stuff in my This Is Me that I have never in my life shared with anybody else. I shared my failures. I shared my regrets. I shared the hard times and the bad choices I've made. And I was astounded, and it was scary. I'm not going to lie. It was so scary. I thought, how can I share my mistakes with my people when they really need me to be the leader, right? How are they going to think that I'm a good leader when I admit to them that I totally messed that up? I said, it doesn't matter. I'm going in. And let me tell you, the presentations that have come after me have been amazing. People have said, I cannot believe that I am sharing this on a call with people I don't even know and I've never met in person. And it has been amazing. So when people ask me, How do you get people, how do you get your team to connect? And how do you get to get them to be vulnerable with their mistakes? I say, I always go first. And I wasn't always like this. Let me tell you, at ENVE, I never went first. There was no way for the first 2 years at ENVE I revealed a single thing about my life, my mistakes, nothing. But in this instance, I just decided that was the right thing to do. And by the way, I'm nearly 50. Like, if you can't be comfortable with yourself at 50, like, okay, here I am. So I always go first. And it has had a tremendous impact on our team. So be vigilant about people. For us, you know, unlike ENVE, our biggest investment was the equipment, right? The raw materials. Well, here, 60% of what we spend is on our people. It's our people. It's our biggest investment. So I have to constantly be thinking about what are we doing to bring in the right talent and what are we doing to keep that talent here. And amidst a global pandemic, that's totally crazy. So my last point is be willing to disrupt yourself. So when I left ENVE, right, so I sold ENVE 2016. I stayed on for 2.5 more years. Lots of people said, you know, you did a great job. You had a great exit. You should be done. Go travel, you know, sit back. I was like, sit back? I don't want my kids watching their mom at 45 sit back. Well, that was probably 47 at the time. Anyway. And you can see from my experiences that I've jumped lots of industries, right? Lots of different industries. Biotech, pharma, automotive aftermarket. For me, I feel like if you're not willing to disrupt yourself, somebody else will totally disrupt you. And I love this quote. Your new goals are going to cost you your old mindset. Right? Your new goals are going to cost you your old mindset. And so when I was thinking about my next gig, because I fundamentally didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. And I don't know what I'm going to be at the end of this, but I just wanted to go and try. And I wanted my 18-year-old daughter to see her mom at this stage in life go and try something really hard. Like, I have really no business running a company that's data, technology, software as a service, in tourism, other than the fact that I love to travel and I love science and math. You know, it's totally outside of my comfort zone. A much more comfortable place for me to be would have been to stay in the outdoor industry and run another outdoor company, which I had the opportunity to do and continue to get calls for. But again, I feel if you're not going to disrupt yourself, someone else will. And I wanted my kids to see it. So in general, this is how I think about the concepts that apply, I think, relatively universally, whether you're building a small service business or a super large technology company. I think you've got to be bold. If your vision is bold, you will attract bold people, right? If your vision and mission is bold, you will attract people who are inspired by greatness. If your vision is, oh, we kind of want to do a good job, well, who are you going to attract for that? So I think vision attracts. I think brands have to have emotional connection. We are selling to government entities, but the people making the decisions are humans, and they want to feel part of something bigger than themselves too. So I think you have to have a emotional connection. And again, play bigger. At ENVE, we had no money, right? We were a company on the brink of bankruptcy. So we had to be strategic. And I think actually scarcity creates creativity and ingenuity in people. So lightning strikes. I would encourage everyone to get the book. And if you don't like reading, it's a great audiobook for a long drive. Innovate how we innovate, right? This is a different space. For us, we've got to think about it totally differently and use tools in a way that we've never used before. And again, I think it's obvious we all talk about being vigilant about people, but in this day and age when talent is so hard to find and so hard to keep, like, we have to get out of our comfort zone to create a space that these people want to be part of and they want to stay. And then again, personally, For me, it's been important to think about either disrupt or be disrupted. Questions?
So I'll take any questions from anyone here. We've got about 7 minutes or so. So any questions? And I can roam the mic here. So everyone's scared to go first. Yes, let's go. Brian in the back.
So I'm curious, when things looked their bleakest at ENVE, or with what you're currently tackling, what strategies do you use to keep your team motivated and on the same page that you're on?
I love that question. In fact, we just had this conversation. At our company, our growth has been quite high, and we have operationally still need to catch up to the growth. So there's this, how many of you have heard of the Stockdale Principle or the Stockdale Paradox? Okay, so it was discovered by Jim Collins in the Good to Great book, and it's about a prisoner of war who was as a prisoner of war for 17 years. And I'll try to remember the quote exactly, but the question was, how did you survive? How did you survive? And this admiral said, well, I survived because I never once unwavered in my belief that I would survive and ultimately prevail. However, I looked at the realities as they were with the harshest lens. So if you take those two things, you say you are going to look at your life through the lens of this is real and this is hard, and face it. And not say it's going to get better tomorrow. Oh, only if we make that higher, then my job's going to get better. Or maybe if we win that deal, it's going to get better. No, it is hard right now. And there's no, we'll get better, but it's hard. Let's accept it. Let's accept our realities and still have this unwavering belief that we're going to prevail. Storyteller. We've had topics about empathy. We've had, we will have discussions around building a team. So we are making investments in those types of areas. We have rewarded people with masterclass subscriptions, because if you remember, one of our core values is we're a learning organization. So we gift the ability to continue to learn. We have a pretty robust stock option plan. So those are a variety of ways that we're trying to ensure that our people realize, because most of our people are still working for sub-market pay, considering we're a startup, or early stage. We've moved out of the startup to be an early stage venture, but still, so we have to give them lots of affirmation that this is the right place for them.
Any other questions? Okay.
I don't know too much about your company, but what about competitors? It's probably something on your mind, but you see a lot of competition now in your space?
Absolutely. When we started, we were literally a lone company out there. There are a lot of imitators right now. There are a lot. And that's one thing about the Play Bigger. It talks about becoming a category leader. Like, we are creating a category. And in our wake are all these little players. I keep looking back and there's more. I'm like, what? So there are some. So again, the innovation piece for us is absolutely critical. We have to keep pushing and creating a much bigger moat between us and them. Our data science, for me, is where I think our biggest competitive advantage is and can be, as well as our team, the domain knowledge of the team. But I intentionally didn't talk about it because, I was thinking about it when I was preparing. I was like, I wonder if I should talk about competition, because that is a core principle in any business. I guess my core principle with competition is that I believe that it's ourselves, and we are our own biggest competitors, and that is up if we get in our own way, because we either can't operate more efficiently enough or effectively enough, we think too small, we don't think about our people properly, we ultimately are our own demise. So I'm constantly trying to have the team, just keep looking forward. Look at that mountain. That's where we're headed. If we keep going and running as fast as we can to that, those guys will have no choice but try to keep up. So I guess there is lots of competition.
All right, last question right here.
So you've noted how quickly you guys have grown this year, and I love your positive, messaging. I hear from a lot of local employers just how hard it is to hire folks these days. I didn't hear or pick up much of that from you. So what would you attribute some of your success to getting folks in a quickly growing company the way that you have, despite the landscape of workforce development these days?
It's a really great point, very astute, and I would say both apply. So the company was founded by two individuals that come from the space. So one was in the sales and marketing side of tourism, and one was on the development side, worked at the Utah Office of Tourism. They have a huge network of people in the tourism space that they have been able to attract. So we have brought in a lot of industry veterans to this company, given the mission, because they know the founders. So when it comes to people with industry experience, we've been quite successful. Where we are now, similar to every other company here in Utah, working with is building out our technology team, right? Our data scientists, data engineers, those are tough hires right now. So we're in it with everybody else. We just literally talked about what are we going to do to attract talent? How are we going to put ourselves out there to cut through the noise that we're indeed one of those startups that are worth taking a risk? So we're talking about that on a daily basis.
I was really hoping you had a silver bullet.
Oh, I'm thinking billboards.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give it a round of applause to
Thank
Sarah.
you.